This is Joe Biden. On June 25th, 2022, the Supreme Court ruled that Roe v. Wade, the seminal court case from 1973, was decided incorrectly, and that the right to an abortion is not a constitutional right and must be left to individual states. And after the decision was handed down, Joe Biden proceeded to attack the Supreme Court.
The court has done what it has never done before, expressly take away a constitutional right that is so fundamental to so many Americans that had already been recognized.
So he claims that it's a constitutional right, even though the word abortion or the right to privacy isn't anywhere in the Constitution. But at the same time, Joe Biden, constitutional scholar, has no problem claiming that the right to bear arms, which is actually enshrined in the Second Amendment of the Constitution, isn't absolute.
Second Amendment's not absolute. When it was passed, you couldn't own a cannon. You couldn't own certain kinds of weapons. It's just always been limitations.
And that's a lie, because not only could Americans buy cannons when the Second Amendment was passed, but they can still buy cannons today. Even PolitiFact has given him a false rating on the matter, and the Washington Post's fact checker gave him 4 Pinocchios. So quite frankly, I could give a about Joe Biden's opinion on anything. I mean, this is a man that needs to be given instructions on how to enter a room and how to sit in a chair.
Make no mistake, this decision is a culmination of a deliberate effort over decades to upset the balance of our law. It's a realization of an extreme ideology and a tragic error by the Supreme Court, in my view.
When someone qualifies a statement with the phrase, "in my view," or "the way I see it," they're likely full of it. But here's the thing. The Roe v. Wade decision has always been on shaky ground. And everyone knew this, including 1986 Joe Biden.
There is an overwhelming universal criticism by proponents of pro-choice and opponents of pro-choice that Roe v. Wade was not a very well-reasoned decision. Most constitutional scholars do not offer that as an example of, whether they're for or against abortion, a decision that is well-written and well-reasoned. Not the conclusions, but it's not offered as a way to write a decision.
And Joe Biden is right. It's so weird to say that out loud. Roe v. Wade was not a well-written or well-reasoned decision, and everyone knew this, and they knew it for 50 years. And Democrats could have attempted to lay the entire issue to rest by codifying the Roe decision into law. Here's then Senator Barack Obama in 2007 pandering to Planned Parenthood.
What would you do at the federal level, not only to ensure access to abortion, but to make sure that the judicial nominees that you will inevitably be able to pick are true to the core tenets of Roe v. Wade?
Well, the first thing I'd do as president is sign the Freedom of Choice Act. That's the first thing that I'd do.
If Obama signed the Freedom of Choice Act, it would have eliminated federal, state, and local restrictions on abortion. But after he got elected, it wasn't a priority.
Do you still hope that Congress quickly sends you the Freedom of Choice Act so you can sign it?
The Freedom of Choice Act is not my highest legislative priority. I believe that women should have the right to choose, but I think that the most important thing we can do to tamp down some of the anger surrounding this issue is to focus on those areas that we can agree on, and that's where I'm going to focus.
So signing the Freedom of Choice Act went from the first thing I do to people are angry about it, so I'm going to focus on other stuff. Never thought I'd say this unironically, but thanks, Obama. And what's curious about this is that for most of 2009, Democrats in the Senate effectively held a supermajority and held a majority in the House. So if the Freedom of Choice Act was ever going to get passed through Congress, 2009 was the time to do it. But God forbid the Democrats criticize Obama. Many are making the excuse that Barack Obama was busy trying to get the Affordable Care Act passed. But I need to point out that the ACA easily passed. without a single Republican voting for it in the Senate and only one dumbass Republican voting for it in the House. So with that, PolitiFact ranks Obama's promise to sign the Freedom of Choice Act as a promise broken on their Obameter. Womp womp. So even though Democrats failed to get it together for nearly 5 decades, Joe Biden thinks that this is going to be a major issue for voters in 2022 and 2024.
Let me be very clear and unambiguous. This fall, Roe is on the ballot. We must elect more senators and representatives who will codify women's right to choose into federal law once again. Elect more state leaders to protect this right at the local level.
So Joe Biden is desperate and hoping that the issue will mobilize Democrats and get them to the polls for the midterms. But not everyone's buying what he's selling.
So I received a text message from Joe Biden's campaign yesterday saying that the Supreme Court had overturned Roe versus Wade and that it was my responsibility to then rush $15 to the Democratic National Party. And I thought that was absolutely outrageous because my rights should not be a fundraising point for them or a campaigning point. They have had multiple opportunities to codify Roe into law over the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and they haven't done it. And if they're going to keep campaigning on this point, they should actually do something about it.
And Zoe's right. For nearly 50 years, Democrats have failed to codify Roe into federal law. But now Biden's like, well, we promised that if you vote for us this time, we're sure to make it happen. Also, give us money. Democrats don't care about you, Zoe, but they will totally try and use you so that they can stay in power. So one of the biggest things that the media is completely overlooking is that Joe Biden literally attacked the Supreme Court and its legitimacy.
It was 3 justices named by one president, Donald Trump, who were the core of today's decision to upend the scales of justice and eliminate a fundamental right for women in this country.
Joe Biden singling out 3 Supreme Court justices and vilifying them is absolutely stunning.
With this decision, the conservative majority of the Supreme Court shows how extreme it is, how far removed they are from the majority of this country.
I'm surprised he didn't call it the ultra mega court, but I'm sure he thought about it though. Now, to show the media's bias towards the Democrats, let's go back to 2020 when President Trump tweeted about Justices Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Sonia Sotomayor. In his tweets, Trump said that both should recuse themselves on all Trump or Trump-related matters, and stated, "I only ask for fairness, especially when it comes to decisions made by the United States Supreme Court." And this was regarding the fact that in 2016, Ruth Bader Ginsburg openly criticized then-candidate Trump, telling the New York Times, "I can't imagine what this place would be. I can't imagine what this country would be with Donald Trump as our president. For the country, it would be 4 years. For the court, it could be, I don't even want to contemplate that." And she told CNN he is a faker. He has no consistency about him. He says whatever comes into his head at the moment. He really has an ego. How has he gotten away with not turning over his tax returns? The press seems to be very gentle with him on that. And so clearly, Ginsburg held animus towards Trump. Therefore, he had every right to express an opinion that she might be biased against him. As for Justice Sotomayor, in a dissent in a case regarding the public charge rule, this court is partly to blame for the breakdown in the appellate process. That is because the court, in this case, the New York cases, and many others, has been all too quick to grant the government's reflexive requests. But make no mistake, such a shift in the court's own behavior comes at a cost. Perhaps most troublingly, the court's recent behavior on stay applications has benefited one litigant over all others, i.e. the Trump administration. I fear that this disparity in treatment erodes the fair and balanced decision-making process that this court must strive to protect. Not only was Sotomayor attacking the motives of the conservative justices of the Supreme Court, but she was also criticizing the Trump administration for asking for emergency relief from liberal judges in lower courts, even though they were in the right to do so. So even though Trump had the right to make a statement calling for Ginsburg and Sotomayor to recuse themselves, the media lost their minds. ABC News reported, and I use that term loosely, the tweets are the first time Trump has directly attacked members of the Supreme Court by name since taking office. Justices who are appointed for life decide on their own when it's appropriate to recuse from cases. Trump attacked the Supreme Court again. Here are 4 things to know. President Trump attacked Supreme Court justices. Trump launches new attack on Supreme Court. Trump lashes out at liberal Supreme Court justices and demands recusals. President rages at Sonia Sotomayor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Okay, I think you get the picture. Now, I'm not defending President Trump's tactics per se, but at least there was reasoning behind asking for specific justices to recuse themselves. Were they going to? No. Were his tweets helpful? Probably not. Was it an attack on the Supreme Court? Absolutely not. Because for clarity, wanting a judge to recuse themselves after they personally attacked you and asking for fairness in the court is not an attack. But on the other hand, President Biden tweeted, "Only the justices named by one president have been unanimous in upending the scales of justice and eliminating a fundamental right for women in this country." So when Biden arguably attacks Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Coney Barrett for no reason other than the fact that he's upset at a court decision, complete silence from the media. I know you're shocked. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, sharing, and slamming that like button. As always, be sure that you're still subscribed to the channel, and I hope to see you next time. If there is next time.